Hey guys, this is Thomas over here, nursemoneytalk.com, and in this video, I'm going to give you some 10 helpful tips that will help you survive your very first nursing shift alone after orientation. Before I get into that, if you're not already subscribed, I want to go ahead and invite you to hit that subscribe button on this channel. I talk about all things related to nursing student, and of course, nurse life. Second thing, if you haven't already checked out New Nurse Academy, you can go check it out by going to nursemoneytalk.com/new nurse academy. It's a course just for new nurses that will bridge the gap and teach you those things that nursing school just doesn't really teach you. So it's going to be things related to one in particular about charting and how you should be charting, especially all the legalities and whatnot involved in when it comes to charting. So definitely check that out. I think, at the moment there is a free trial. So check it out. Now let's go ahead and start with the real meat of this video. And the first tip that I would definitely encourage you to do is to make sure that you continue to ask questions. Make sure that you don't get into a point that you become fearful of asking questions, that you all of a sudden get kind of like this complex of, well, I'm a nurse, I got my licensure, I'm off orientation, I should know it all. That's not true. It will take a good while, and before you become very comfortable in where you're at. A 12-week orientation does not mean that you know it all. Not even close. Like, you have nurses, like even me, I've been however many years out now. And there are still instances where I will go in, ask questions, of other nurses, double check, certain things, just because, there might be certain things, even with as many years of experience I have, certain things that I don't do as often or haven't done that I need to double check with a nurse who might have, or just being able to cross-reference a couple of things and just to make sure that, that I'm doing the correct thing, and it goes both ways. I mean, I'll still have like nurses who have been nurses for a really long time, like, many multiples longer than I've been a nurse, and they'll still ask questions. That is part of being a good nurse, is knowing what you don't know and being smart to always ask questions to clarify, to make sure that the patient receives the best possible care. Number 2 is, don't be afraid to call the doctor. Ultimately, and I understand that some hospital systems do a poor job of empowering their nurses and protecting their nurses from a lot of the bullying or the BS that comes in with dealing with physicians. I get it. I understand that. I've been there, and I can appreciate all of that. Ultimately, they are there to do a job, and you don't want a situation where you get so afraid to call a doctor that then a patient gets a bad outcome, because that physician in that hospital, they will pin it back on you to where you should have called, but you didn't. So you always call. If there's a bullying situation with a physician, try to follow it up with your chain of command, talk to your senior nurses and see kind of how to navigate that. If you are still on orientation when you are watching this, or even if you're not, and you can still get in contact with a nurse that's mentoring you, or even who was precepting you before, try to run some scenarios of how to call the physician and what information you should have available when you're calling the physician, to make sure things go as smoothly as possible. This is especially true if you're working nights and you're calling at the middle of the night, like at, 2, 3 in the morning, and you're waking somebody up. Like, especially at that point, you need to make sure that you are very efficient with your phone call to the physician. And, one other tip that I will mention is that ask your senior nurses about some tips on calling, a certain physician, a certain attending physician. And the reason why I say this is like nurses in general, physicians have different personalities. So for instance, you might have a physician who, like, if you call them, they just want you to tell them what you need and then get off the phone with them. So you'll call patients doing this, this, and this. I need X, Y, and Z. Okay, you got it. Boom. There you go. Especially if you reach a level where that physician trusts you. And then you'll have certain physicians where they don't want your suggestions. And, unless it's their idea, then they don't want to hear what a quote unquote lowly nurse has to say. And that's just the truth of the matter. And so those are some of the things that you kind of just have to know and learn how to navigate. And that goes in with just knowing the particular physician. So I would definitely encourage you to talk to your senior nurses about that. The third thing is to give yourself some grace. You're going to make mistakes. I assure you, you are going to make mistakes. It is just going to happen. Nurses, multiple years your senior, continue to make mistakes on a regular basis. That's just it. That is the part of being human. And especially when you are human and you don't have the experience, that's okay. Just learn, your facility protocol or how to find your facility protocol. And so you know what you're going to do when those mistakes happen. Breathe, take care of the patient, call the physician, call the manager, incident report, whatever your hospital protocol and whatever the situation requires. Learn from it, jot down notes if you have to, and then keep moving forward, keep pressing on. That's all you can do. The fourth thing is to really look at trying to chart as you go. I think in general, this is just a good practice, regardless of how many years you've been a nurse. Just because things can back up, you can forget things that needs to be charted, you can run out of time. And I'll tell you this: very few things will lead to inefficient charting, quite like you have 8 patients. You've just given report, and now you have to catch up on all charting on 8 patients, and it's the end of your shift and you're trying to leave. Until it's 8 p.m. or 8:30 p.m., you've already given report and you're asking yourself, why am I still here? The temptation will be chart as quickly and as inefficiently as possible so you can leave. So that's why I think it's ideal to chart as you go, chart as many things as you can as you go. But I understand, keep in mind that I understand that you are going to have situations where it's not going to be possible to chart as you go. Crap's going to happen. But that's when probably some pen, paper, that then you can make notes on particular situations, times, and whatnot, that then when you do have to go back and chart as soon as possible, you then will have vital informations right there you can then use to chart and then cross off. But definitely try to chart as much as you can as you keep going. The fifth thing is to really look at checking unfamiliar medications with a reference guide. Unless you were really strong in medication, like in pharmacology when you were in nursing school, there's a pretty good chance that there's going to be a lot of medications that you're just not going to know. And you might feel dumb, but keep in mind that you are new and things will get better, because one thing that you'll come to realize is that there's a lot of repetitive medications that will come up on your unit, especially based on the formulary that your facility has, or even different providers will have different their go to different medications of choice for different things. And so, it'll become pretty common. While you might not know what, like, I don't know what metoprolol is, once you look it up the first time, you take some notes about, common doses and everything else. That's probably not going to be your first time seeing metoprolol. So your facility will more likely to not have some kind of drug guide or whatnot you can check. Um, those may or may not be convenient, just kind of depending. There are drug guides available that you can download, like if you're on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store or whatever, that you can then have on your phone that you can use for reference. There was one that I was using that that was very good, but I can't remember what it is now. If I think about it, I'll put it in the descriptions below. So definitely check that out. But if you are watching this and you know of a good drug guide, then definitely let us know in the comment section of like what drug guide you've been using. Especially if it's like an app that you've been using on your phone. Number 6 is really try to be a team player. Actually, don't try. You need to be a team player. And this is especially true when you are looking at the unlicensed personnel that are going to be working with you. I think everybody, it's pretty easy to, you got PT, you got, the registered dietitian, you got the respiratory therapist and, blah, blah, all of those people. And I think the ones that gets overlooked, which honestly, maybe instead of like being a team player, maybe I should have just called this treat your techs and other unlicensed personnel like with respect. Maybe that should have been a better title because that is going to be my focus is that take care of your techs. I mean, in other videos, like, I've encouraged techs to, to work hard and blah, blah, and all these other things. But as nurses, you need to take care of your techs. Like if you've been a tech before becoming a nurse, then you know how frustrating it is working with a nurse and you're over there busting your butt. And then this nurse, because they have a licensure, doesn't want to do anything to help. Now, obviously, you all have different duties. If there's things that requires a licensed personnel to do, then obviously you're going to take care of that and you're going to let your unlicensed personnel take care of the things that they're going to take care of. But don't be the person who's like, you're letting it's a slow day or whatever, you're letting your techs bust their butt and you're sitting around chatting it up, eating at the nurse's station, because that is frustrating. It is very frustrating. And here's the thing, a good tech can make your life so much easier. So much easier. And I will also say the same, like if this is an RN and you are working with LPNs, because don't be little. I mean, your LPN staff as well. I mean, I just like, cause I know that was a common complaint amongst like techs and LPNs. And even for me, because I was a tech, I was an LPN and now I'm an RN. So I've seen and I've been inside all of those things. And it's just like when things are going well, when people are hustling, working together as a team, the shift is honestly just so much easier for everybody involved. So the next thing is to take your time with patient care. Obviously try to time management or try to be as efficient as possible. But ultimately you want to make sure that each patient that is under your care receives the absolute best care possible. And so you need to make sure when you're there, you focus on their needs and whatnot. One tip that I had received many years ago, and this is like when you're rounding with a patient. So when you come in and you see the patient and you take care of their needs. You ask them, do you need X, Y, and Z or whatever? Tell them that, hey, I'll be back in an hour. I'll be back in an hour and a half, whatever the time may be. And then make sure you actually show up at that particular time. Because one of the things that was taught to me and that I've seen work is that for many patients, they are less likely to like just hold like, be on that call light all day long if they have an expectation and if they know, okay, it's 9 o'clock now. The nurse told me that they'll be back at 10:30, 10:30, whatever. So I'll just wait then. And then over time, as you've got them trained to like this, I'll be back at this time, I'll be back at this time. Then they've come to kind of expect that, okay, if this is something that can wait, I'll just wait till the next time they are around. So just kind of like a quick little tip that I got like many years ago that I found to be very helpful. The next thing is to learn to listen more than you talk. And so this can show itself in a lot of different ways. This can be from your patient interactions. You ask a question to the patient, just listen, let them talk. At times, you can find a lot of information from patients just by listening and letting them talk. You'd be shocked at how many things patients will just say as they're rambling on that can lead you to either health issues that they have that they for whatever reason just didn't report, or whatever the case may be. But this can also work itself out as you're dealing with your peers on the unit. And so avoid talking so much and getting yourself in the middle of gossiping. Um, you know, I that's why my thing's always been like, at every place I've ever worked at, I've been the one that I'll listen. I won't say a whole lot, but I'll just sit there and I'll listen to what you're saying. I can find out a heck of a lot of a lot about people, situations they're going through, who likes who doesn't like who, just by listening and then not saying a whole lot. And honestly, I think that's been part of like my secret to being able to get along with the vast majority of people that I've worked with, is just because of the fact that I listen so well and I don't find myself in the middle of all these talking, gossiping, and whatever the case may be. Number 9 is to always try to be in the business of formulating a game plan. When you get report, these are my 5 patients, 8 patients, or whatever. These are the conditions. These are the things that I'm going to do in this order. Now, I think the beauty of this is that this then starts to kind of help you develop a rhythm and a pattern that, that then you can then follow. Like after I get report, then I'm going to do these next 3 things. And then that's just what you'll follow. And what you'll see is that will make you more productive and efficient with the very little time that you're going to get as a nurse to be able to do your patient care. The last tip is to really look at, as you're prioritizing your time, you're charting as you go and whatnot, is try to cluster your care. If you're going into the patient that's in room 150, so ask yourself, what all does this patient need? Do they need like a dressing change? Do I need to assess something? Do I need to give them medications? Try to knock out everything that you can get done with that patient whenever you go in there, so that you don't constantly see yourself having to go back and forth in that patient's room if it's not needed. It's one of those things that will for sure make you more productive and also allow you to better utilize the the time that you have, which also would be getting, making it more productive, is pretty much saying the same thing. But I think it'll also cause you to be less stressful as well. That is all I've got. Let me know if there's any tips on here that you've heard that you think I should have mentioned. Let me know in the comment sections below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you very soon in that next video.